Hello and welcome to a special edition of Titanic Talks, Memorial Day edition, and it is May 31st, 2021. Wow. I hope you're having a good extended weekend if you're observing Memorial Day here in the United States of America. Big thank you to those serving the country, and I am excited to have a day off, and we thank them for that. I have to say I had a little extra time, and I put up a new light. Look at that. Kind of looks like I'm being interrogated in a scene from a movie, maybe. I don't know. I'm really excited about overhead lighting. I remember the first time I ever made a music video and learned about the directional ability of light. And when you combine an overhead light with a honeycomb grid, well, that's a look that I tend to enjoy. So hopefully this is visually appealing to those watching. If you're just listening, there's an overhead light. And also I put two different lights up this time. You might notice behind me there's a bit of a red glow. I thought red might be nice. Red, white, and blue. I probably should have worn a blue jacket, but instead I have I look like a drug dealer. I kind of look like Tim Roth from that scene in Reservoir Dogs when he does he tells the story where he has the bag of illegal substances and the drug dogs right there. He's in the bathroom. It's one of my favorite movies. And off screen, you won't see this, but I do have a reflector because with the overhead light, it's coming from one direction, and I've got it bouncing back up. Metallic. The silver side. Thought that might be fun, and man, yeah, definitely look like I don't know, what I'd be selling, like I think just pot. I feel like I'm giving off pot dealer from 1992 vibes, and that's where I'm at in my life. How are you? Are you good? Feeling pretty nice. Got a summer cut. Chopped the hair off. Did I get them cut? Got them all cut. And I've had long hair for a very long time, and it gets to the point where you're taking a shower, and you just don't want to deal with it anymore. So anyone who's had long hair before, and you chopped it off, you probably remember that first shower afterward. And I feel like I lost some weight off of the top of my head. But we're feeling good. Really excited about the kind of summer vibe that's going on. I guess Memorial Day is kind of like the kickoff of summer, right? I don't know if those of you outside of the States are familiar with this holiday that we have in remembrance and I suppose celebration of those who gave their lives or are giving their blood, sweat, tears to the U.S. of A. And typically that's, at least where I grew up, it's kind of a time to go have a couple beverages out at the lake and enjoy the company of your loved ones. And I know many of you are probably doing a little bit of that today. And it's a good time to be appreciative and thankful for all of the things in life that make it a lot easier than it could be. So that's good stuff. I spent the weekend out in the country, in the middle of nowhere, no service, and it was awesome. But it's like kind of one of those things, no service, there's always Wi-Fi, unless there's a tornado. And I was out at the farm, down on the range, maybe you might say. And the second we pulled up, the clouds rolled in, and I thought it might just be a thunderstorm, and it was a tornado. Pretty exciting. There was hail. It wasn't that crazy, but it was like the size of like a marble. And I was actually pretty excited that the satellite for the Wi-Fi and the satellite television got knocked out. And so it was a complete escape from technology and an escape from the hustle and bustle of everyday modern life. And I just feel completely recharged. Got to spend the night playing with the dog and cats, rolling around with a border collie and laughing. So that was good. And then spent time with the horses and took the pony for a walk. And I'll tell you what, nothing will clear your mind more than just walking around several acres of nothing and just feeding a pony peppermints and enjoying its company. I had a good time. Really, really feeling revitalized from that. Nature is something that I just didn't really pay much attention to. For several years, I got all wound up and consumed with the illusion of success and the even more disturbing mirage of fame and fortune. So it's good to just hang out with horses in the middle of nowhere in Texas Hill Country. Highly recommended. And also, I guess one of the things that I've kind of been thinking about is, the older I get, it's kind of the further away from the city I feel like I need to be. And I've just been thinking about that a lot. I'd really like to just open up a studio, and then once things are opened up, just fly to wherever I need to be. Because there's something to be said about like being in it. And that was always my defense for being in LA. I was just kind of like, well, if something comes up, hey, can you meet for lunch tomorrow? Yes. You can't do that when you're living in the middle of nowhere. But done a little bit of everything, and just kind of where my brain's been at. Certainly since the past, over the past year, as things have kind of become remote. It was very, very eye-opening to realize, we don't have to all be crammed into this place. But I do understand it, and parts of me still miss New York, and got to be honest, not really missing California. But to each their own, right? Do you own a Roomba? Does anyone watching this own a Roomba? Should I buy one? It seems like the jury's out on that. Couple people I know, they swear by it. Oh, it just does its own thing. And then it seems like a 50-50 split. The others are, I suppose you might consider them anti-Roomba. And then there's the Dyson thing. It's like, are you going to spend $2,000 on a vacuum? I've stood in front of those things so many times at the store. And there's that little voice in the back of your head that's just like, you need this. But I stare at that price tag and I'm like, does a vacuum cleaner need to be over $1,000? I don't even know how much the Roombas cost. Can't be as much as those Dysons though. But the people I know who have them really like them. That's kind of one of those things when you've got hardwood floors. Got to keep them clean. We like a clean floor. Wow. Anyway, I have been, okay, here's something that might actually be interesting and is not about vacuum cleaners or boring things. So I woke up recently to one of those alerts on my phone that said, hey, you have used your phone 53% more this week than last week. And I felt like I felt very judged. And then you got to justify it. It's like, oh, well, I picked up my phone 80 times yesterday or, something crazy like that. And you kind of do the thing. You're like, oh, well, let's see what I was actually like, maybe it was productive. And I can report with part shame and part pride that about 70% of that was YouTube, watching videos. I'll just put things on, so it's like, was I really spending that much time on the phone? And then a small fraction was the other things, less than 1% of social media. But I'm curious, what does your screen time look like? What is your most used app? I'd bet for those watching this, probably YouTube. And I bet a lot of people here are on Instagram and maybe TikTok. I don't know, but yeah, curious. This is out of genuine curiosity. I'm wondering, like, man, how much time are people spending on their phones, and what are they using? And about 30 or 35% was on business and finance apps. So I'd like to get that down too, because I don't want to get too consumed with that. So I made a decision though. Crunched a couple numbers, and I was like, all right, I want to take 3 hours total, including like entertainment apps that I've been using, YouTube and HBO or whatever. So I said, okay, if I can shave off 3 hours per day, and then replace that with doing something productive. So I have started doing an hour every single day, no matter what, of piano, which has been really stretching my mind. We'll get into that more in a moment. But piano, studying another language. I've been studying Japanese for several years now, and I am just starting with the Spanish language, which will be my third language. And 3, more time spent on guitar, but not just fiddling around, actually doing warm-ups and practicing to a metronome every single day. And that has kind of been my regimen. And it's paying off. It's really crazy. Even in like 1 week, it's really amazing where if you just kind of make that decision and challenge yourself and be like, just stay off the apps, even if it's just for an hour. And hopefully that'll lead to something productive. And what I keep telling myself is like, especially with studying foreign language, it's like, even just 1 hour, think about how much more beneficial to real life that will be, as opposed to, watching compilations of, cats trying to jump onto something high and not making it. Because that's what I tend to get sucked into. But, the piano thing, I wanted to get back to that. If you play piano, maybe this will be relatable. Or if you've ever sat at a piano and just kind of been dumbfounded by it. It's one of those weird things, like, I feel a similar way with drums, but I haven't had a drum set in years. And the only time really I would get to really practice drums would be at like sound checks for shows, or rehearsals. And, everyone would be eating lunch or go to eat lunch or something like that, or people would leave, or I'd get there early and I would just kind of go nuts on drums. I always felt like I was born a drummer. But I am not a drummer. I just love playing. I probably like playing drums more than any other instrument. But piano, it's always kind of been there for most of my life. We at least had a keyboard around when I was very young, as young as I can remember, actually, with a little PV amplifier, a little solid state amplifier. But I never took lessons for any music or singing or anything like that. But it was one of those. I think this one may have been a Yamaha. I'll have to find out. It was a Yamaha or a Roland, but it had a 3.5-inch floppy drive on it, and I remember instead of playing the music, that one of the 3.5-inch floppy discs was sound effects. Because before sound effects libraries on the internet, you had to have some way of reading that data that was recorded elsewhere. And I would imagine at the time it was probably pretty cutting edge, but if it's, I don't even think it was an 88 key keyboard, but maybe it was 49 keys, but it had a lot of sounds. And I remember being a young lad and just kind of making sounds out of these sound effects. And then whenever I would get to the musical, program with the piano sound or organ sound or whatever it was, I just never really, it seemed daunting to me because I didn't realize, you see all the keys on the piano and you're like, oh my gosh, like how am I supposed to remember all these? I didn't realize it's the same thing over and over. It just repeats in different octaves. But once I got more into performing and recording music and writing music, I really started to pay attention to the piano. And at one point, maybe I was in high school, we had like a family piano, just like an upright, like digital piano. And that's kind of when I started learning. And I would learn like Beatles songs. I think I learned like Moonlight Sonata, and just kind of like party trick kind of things. But I don't think it became something that I really focused on until much later in life. actually probably in the studio, as I started to be around people who are classically trained and people who study or studied music theory. And I was starting to actually understand a lot of these concepts about music. Maybe this kind of started around 7 or 8 years ago. And I started to kind of make a conscious effort to understand the things. I always knew when I heard like a diminished chord, I knew I liked that sound. Or I knew when I heard like a dominant 7 that was hit right at the right spot, which the Beatles do very well among really any other like great composer or songwriter. They use those intriguing chords at tense moments or moments that lead to a relief, which is usually to the major. Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know. I was late to the game. I was really late to the game, as far as like, because I had always heard like, oh well, Paul McCartney can't read music. Alleged, I don't know. Allegedly, that's what everyone says. You know, Kurt Cobain never couldn't read music, and he didn't really know what he was doing. It's like, yeah, but he like they understand the language. Even if they're not able to like write it down. I mean, you can't be that good at melody without having a deep understanding and a deep love for melody arrangement, and just composition in general. And that's something that's really stuck with me. And surprisingly enough, if you can believe this, most people, yeah, I would say most people in the music business as a whole pay no attention to that. Most of it, I think, with what I've seen at least, it's more about having an interesting concept and saying interesting with the lyrics, which I get. That's by all means, and especially with the advent of digital audio workstations, and now everyone has GarageBand or Pro Tools or Logic. So now the barrier to entry to actually record music is very, very low, which I think is very cool. But I can't help but notice there's been with the amount of people who I think maybe say that they are musicians, it's staggering how many don't study music. Which, as I always say on here, there's no rules, but as someone who is like obsessed with music, I always find it to be a lot more rewarding and exciting when you talk to someone who can teach you something about music. And yeah, it's just kind of a crazy thing. I can't really think of any other industry where people are, like, yeah, I'm a chef. I don't make food. I like to eat it. But I'm a chef. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but maybe the analogy would be like someone who calls themselves a chef, but they're just a server. The server is not the one back there preparing the meal. The artist is the one who's combining all the flavors and spending years and years and years developing techniques. But when that's presented, it's presented by the server, I guess. Which, to each their own. I guess all that matters is that the person eating the dish is enjoying it, right? What I'm interested in lately is like what causes certain chords to invoke certain emotions. And although for a very long time I've implemented things like sus chords and kind of understood, what they did, but I didn't understand why. What elements within music theory are making it sound a certain way, or like the augmented chords, and then learning the modes, which is even more kind of mind melting. Right now I'm focusing heavily on like the Lydian mode, and I would highly recommend, even if you don't play music, or if you don't play an instrument, it's fascinating to hear it described. And really, it kind of boils down to, at least in my opinion, it boils down to who the teacher is. Because like anything in life, when learning something, you can be obsessed with whatever it is and have an undying passion to learn a new thing. But if it's a bad teacher, game over. You got to find the right teacher. And I have to give it up to, there's a channel, David Bennett Piano is his YouTube channel. I highly recommend you subscribe. Fascinating stuff. And I think what I really like about his videos is he blends examples of all types of music. And he's a very big Radiohead fan, which I am as well. I think Radiohead's probably the best band in the world at the moment. And I agree with most in saying that Radiohead is kind of like our Beatles, our generation. But he does a very good job of explaining pretty complex musical concepts, and makes them incredibly digestible. And he's just a fascinating teacher. So I hope you'll check his videos out. And the references that he uses, he'll have like a Beatles song, and then like a Beethoven piece, and a Radiohead song, and a Billie Eilish song. And he'll explain, there's one about like harmonic minor, which is one of my favorite things in the world. I love harmonic minor, and I never knew what it was. I just knew I liked the sound. And it wasn't until pretty recently, actually, that I implemented it musically. That was with my song Senorita. That one, I wanted to challenge myself and implement as much harmonic minor goodness as I could in that one. And I think it was a success, because I'm very happy with that song. And I think a big part of why I like that song so much is because how much I learned along the way about harmonizing and just using these concepts that have been swirling around for so long, but I didn't have a concrete basis of understanding. And the cool thing about music, and the same goes for like language, we'll be learning this stuff for the rest of our lives. And you kind of stumble upon these new discoveries, and it's just like the thing that's blowing my mind right now, and I'm finding it to be a lot easier on piano, is as I'm kind of going through and like working through chords and stuff, and the light switch goes on. And that's just such a great feeling. You're just like, oh yes, okay, I get it. and put it in the back pocket and keep it in the bag of tricks. So I've been really enjoying learning that, learning music, learning language, and doing a lot of these things, particularly with guitar, that I used to find very daunting, and I always told myself I procrastinated a lot on one of these days I'll get to learning the scales and all that jazz, and then suddenly it's been 15 years. But as they say, what's the old proverb? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. Heartwarming. That's our heartwarming moment for this episode. Piano's a lot of fun, though. I'm learning a lot of different, learning some classical pieces. I am a big fan of Bach, Mozart, Beethoven. Beethoven's really, the melody involved in that stuff is pretty perplexing. There's a reason all that stuff exists. Satie I've been having a lot of fun with. And but on the flip side of that, learning a bunch of Doobie Brothers. Fun stuff. And I've been on kind of a Queen kick. I think it's influenced heavily by playing more piano and really focusing on the greats. And while driving out through the country a couple days ago, with my gal, we were just blasting music, and I like when the streaming services give you your own station, and the algorithms are getting really good with that, and so we'll just kind of go through like all the songs that you love or you may love, and there was a moment where there was like 5 Queen songs in a row. I don't know if they can tell if you like turned up the radio at a certain point, and then like the algorithm's just like, oh yeah, they're vibing. But that's what happened, and I said, you know what, we're just going for it. We had like another 45 minutes left to get to the barn, and oh yeah, you better believe driving through the country roads, singing Fat Bottom Girls at the top of our lungs. Making memories, because that's where it's at, and that's what it's all about, is sharing those moments of novelty that are just kind of little nuggets that that you'll never forget, and they make your heart feel good. And Queen has been responsible for many of those. I grew up listening to Queen. My mother is a big fan. Well, I guess both my parents are, but yeah, my mother always listened to Queen. She was big on Madonna and Queen, and George Michael was played very often, and Heart, if you've ever heard Heart. Two of the most talented vocalists, well, I guess, and guitar players ever. And you don't, I don't know if it's because if it's coming from like a place of misogyny within rock and roll, but Heart, like, they're an amazing band, and it's pretty rare actually if you look at the charts for like women in rock and roll who write their own songs too. That's a big one. And it's something that bothered me. That's, I think, it's how do I say this? Like it was like 4 or 5 men who wrote Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And Like a Virgin was written by like 4 guys. And I never really had like a mission, because I don't want to seem like some like white knight or whatever. And especially, if you Google me, it makes me sound like I am Satan. But I did, growing up around a lot of girls who were into rock and roll, it was always kind of in the back of my head. It's like, man, why aren't there more girls like in rock and roll? And I always thought it'd be cool. People always have this weird kind of thing. I've heard it a lot about me. Well, why do you need an attractive young lady for your music? And it's like, well, I thought it'd be cool to like do whatever I can to promote girls in at least with like rock and roll, that kind of thing. But that ended up biting me in the butt. But it's still something I think about and I want to see, and it's kind of a bummer, I think it's We Got the Beat, and someone fact checked this for me, but I'm pretty sure We Got the Beat is one of the only top 40 or Billboard 100 songs to, I believe, go to number one that was completely written by women. All of the other ones were written by dudes. And the thing that always happens, you really see this with in like pop music, where there'll be like 80 songwriters, and then and also written by Beyonce, or also written by, I don't know, Nick Jonas, whoever. But usually what happens, inside scoop here, sorry if this upsets anyone in the business, but usually what happens is songs get pitched to these artists, and especially with the top kind of the top of the pops, they'll say, yeah, I'll cut it, and I'm taking 50% of songwriting, even though they had literally nothing to do. Maybe they'll change it, change one sentence or something. In Nashville, they always say a word, get a third, if that makes sense. So basically, minimal input, but they will own a lot of the publishing, because publishing is split percentage wise. Lennon and McCartney famously just did everything they did 50-50 split. Certain songs you can hear, that is a John Lennon song, but they had an agreement, and that was like a 50-50 royalty split. But it's different now. You'll see in a lot of songs, there's that meme that always goes around where it's just like, you'll see like all the single ladies, and it'll have the lyrics, and it's just like all the single ladies, all the single ladies, all the single ladies, blah, blah, blah. And then like 50 songwriters, and then Bohemian Rhapsody, Mama just killed a man, put again against it, all lyrics written by Freddie Mercury. And it's kind of like, I get it. But that's kind of one of those things, and that's like a big. I get it. It's Hollywood, baby, and the whole Wizard of Oz thing. It's nicer, especially for younger people who, if they're hearing an inspiring song that's uplifting them, and their favorite pop star is singing it. It's better for them to believe that person wrote that song. And you know what? That doesn't make it better or worse. It's just, it is what it is. Frank Sinatra didn't write his songs, right? And it's been that way. The top selling single of all time is White Christmas, and that was written by two Jewish guys. It's just like, it's the name of the game. But I guess kind of like the angle that I'm looking at it in, as someone who's written a lot of music from the perspective of a woman, which is kind of a, the older I get, the more kind of, I guess, strange that seems, but that's just the kind of the way it is. And as a writer, I think, there's kind of an exercise. As a writer, like as an exercise, I think kind of writing from the perspective, from a girl's perspective, that was, I think, something that I didn't mind. And I guess I kind of enjoyed like tapping into, like, I guess getting into my own feminine side and being like, well, what might someone say in this position? Let me put myself in someone else's shoes, which I think was, over time, has probably been a good thing, or like a positive thing to, because I don't know like how often people really take the time to do that. But when you're writing songs for people of another gender, all the time, it's kind of makes you reflect on yourself, I guess, in a different way. And I just remember seeing like, wow, like girls just want to have fun. Wasn't written by a girl. Like, ooh, kind of weird. Pretty strange. But this whole entertainment world's kind of strange. So, I don't write the rules, and I guess I do kind of play by them, but it's kind of more of like, well, I understand. But I've talked, I guess, quite a bit here in these videos about this, but it's that classic thing, like we always see on award shows and all this, on social media and wherever, a famous person has a platform and everyone's talking about, progress and, pushing the boundaries and breaking the glass ceiling. And it's like, cool. Yeah, I'm with it, but I'm not seeing it. Not yet, at least. And on top of that, I've seen a lot of talk, You talk the talk, but do you walk the walk? I don't know. Of all the executives I've met, I don't think any of them were women. A little bit more in tech, but music? A lot of dudes. So we'll see. Past couple of years, definitely, you would think there would be some sort of movement with that. Like, I'm talking like business movement, not like, hashtag movement. But, who am I to say? I just write songs and talk to cameras. And that's pretty much it. Oh boy. Can't believe there was a tornado this week. I did not think moving to Texas in 1 year I would see 100-degree weather, an insane snowstorm, craziest snowstorm I've seen since I was a kid, honestly. I mean, we didn't have power for 3.5, almost 4 days. Tornadoes, flooding, but it's pretty great. Assuming everyone's okay and, everyone's safe. But yeah, I'm still getting used to it. Still getting used to weather. Really kind of got used to just sunny and 75 every day. And that was always a joke that I would tell whenever I talked to my mother. She would call me and tell me about, oh, we got snow, or we got, something crazy happened, gusts of wind. Oh, it's overhead or overcast again. And I'd just be like, sunny and 75 again. And that just, I don't know, that got to me. I think the thing I missed the most about not having weather was around like Halloween. Our sense of smell is one of the most nostalgia-inducing. I've heard, I don't know the exact science on this, but I've heard that our sense of smell has the strongest like association with the feeling of nostalgia. I certainly would subscribe to that notion. Because, sometimes you'll catch a whiff of something and it just brings you right back. And usually around October, especially up in Michigan when, the leaves are falling and you would just catch that whiff of fresh air that would bring you right back to, oh, I've got my Lion King backpack on and I'm walking into first grade. Maybe you didn't have a Lion King backpack, but that's what I had. It'd be funny to actually go through. Sometimes you just remember certain things. I had these shoes that I just thought I was just the coolest cat. They were Converse. They were called Converse Touch Effects, or maybe Touch FX. But basically, in the toe of the shoe, there was like a little like ooze. For some reason in like the early 90s, like ooze and slime was like a big thing. It was just everywhere. Like, and as a kid, I just kind of assumed like, oh yeah, like, slime is something I should be like aware of. I guess that was probably because of like Nickelodeon and everyone, like the green slime and Ghostbusters, I guess, was kind of popular. Slimer, he was green. So being, a kindergartner or maybe probably first grade, I thought it was really awesome to, on my shoe, have a little slime thing I could touch. Around that time, BK Ratch Techs were popular too, or at least they were promoting them a lot. I remember seeing that on like Guts. Remember that show on Nickelodeon, Guts? That's kind of something that you can always tell like the age difference when you're talking to someone you don't realize. This is what being old's like, by the way, young people. When you talk to someone and like, you remember those commercials for like the BK Ratch Techs? Like they would play them on like Global Guts. And, the person you're talking to just looks at you and they're like, yeah, I'm not 34 years old. I don't remember. I wasn't born. It always gets me when it's like, because every generation of kid like had their programs that they watched. And I was having a conversation actually a couple days ago with someone. We're talking about, Mr. Rogers and I guess just like how children's programs, television programs, or children's media in general seem to be, it used to have a strong moral code. Mr. Rogers was really pushing boundaries and breaking barriers. I know I talked about his the documentary "Won't You Be My Neighbor," but if you haven't watched that, you really should. Very influential human being, and I think everyone should strive to implement some of the things that he promoted on his show. I think he was a good guy. But even like, Sesame Street back in the day, and I would watch when I was very young, Shining Time Station, Thomas the Tank Engine, and Under the Umbrella Tree, those kinds of things. And then kind of, nowadays, I kind of maybe started with late 90s, early 2000s, and then you fast forward 20 years. Now it's all just kind of like fart jokes. And I don't watch a lot of it because I don't have children, but I've got family members who are youngins. And I kind of just scratch my head, just like, wow, that's interesting. Like, this is what kids are watching now. But I guess technically I'm millennial, and I don't know how well we're doing as a as a generation. I don't know if we're collectively making the world a better place. Time will tell. But, kind of been thinking about that. Thinking about the impact of the things that, I remember when I first started like experimenting with illegal substances, and just being like, totally mind blown by like, dude, why do you think they call it programming? Television program. They're programming you, bro. I remember being a kid and think that was so deep, but there's kind of a point to that. And it's weird because I see a lot of these kind of like conspiracy theory videos, because you would not believe the amount of people who send me that stuff. But it's entertaining. I get it. And as someone who, kind of used that concept and ran with it, I'm kind of split down the middle, because you can kind of see as someone who produces content and has produced content that was seen by a lot of people, at a certain point, it kind of becomes like, what messaging am I putting out there? I excused it for a long time just by, being blissfully unaware that it would have any sort of impact. And I think in the grand scheme, it's just, there's silly videos. I get it. I'm not the type of person who like, looks at my body of work and treats it like it's anything special. It's just like, I just made some stuff when I was bored and I was trying to make my friends laugh, but it gets to a certain point and it's like, well, what am I putting out into the world? And then realizing like, oh, this stuff never goes away. This video, once I upload it, it's like, it's going to be up there forever. So hopefully I don't say something too dumb, but I've been through the ringer enough. It's like, okay, yeah. I get it. Everyone's going to be mad about something. It's just the world. It's the world we live in. I used to get so mad about things. But that's, I'm ranting here. All these are just rants, but it is in the best interest of the the tech companies that run and own and develop and fine tune these social media platforms, it's in their best interest to infuriate you, you know? And that's why, you know, when I say things, and by all means, these are not unique thoughts, but, you know, so many people are having these conversations nowadays, especially after, you know, a year of the world kind of stopping. And I think there's a bit of a conversation going about like, hey, okay, like, that was crazy and it could have been a lot worse. So like, what's going on? You know, why are we so divided? Well, because we're spending all day allowing ourselves to be divided by algorithms. And I truly, truly think, I mean, that's, you know, obviously my circumstances were influenced by a thousand different things, but, you know, I felt like I needed just to get out, you know, and just clear the mind. And that's what I'm loving about being able to just, you know, get out of everything, get away from everything. And really it's, I'm the type of person I need to physically remove myself when I come to the realization, like something needs to change, or I need to somehow work on myself, work on the issue, whatever it is. I need to physically pull myself away. That's why I'm like, I need to just, okay, first things first, let's get out of California. And you know, anytime I feel like I need a little bit of a readjustment, you know, spend a couple days in the middle of nowhere with no technology tends to work. But if you're unable to do that, you know, I think with you know, meditation and mindfulness practices, breathing exercises, you know, if you believe in a higher power, spending time in whatever method of worship you're into, you know, like all of those things, it just seems like, and I'm no expert, I'm just a guy talking, but it, you know, doesn't it seem like it would be beneficial for people, for everyone? Because I'm just one voice here, but oh man, if you look at the phone and you refresh the page and see the thing, you know, this person's the worst, you know, this group is doing this to that group, and just all this stuff, and it's like, oh man, you know, the sky is falling. But then you get out and you actually meet people IRL, and it's like, you know, I made friends this weekend. Really sweet people. And it made me smile. It felt good. And yeah, this division, man. Everyone wants to point the blame at, you know, this leader, that leader. You know, they're all the same person. It's like, I suppose my thought here is that we individually have the either responsibility or lack thereof to become the best version of ourselves that we can, in hopes that will influence others, and there will be an exponential effect to letting go of that angst, which causes anxiety, which causes depression, which is all fueled by fear. And it seems as though, I could be wrong about this, but I think we've all had enough fear. I hope this doesn't come across as preachy, but that's not my intention at all. You know, even if 10 people watch this and, you know, connect with it, like, you know, what can we do today, even if it's as small as just, you know, saying out loud, like, I'm thankful for these things. That's my morning practice. Here's what I'm thankful for. 5 things. Usually it's 10. Anyway, thoughts. I have a new video coming out this week, looking like Wednesday, and I'm excited for you to see it. I really like making these, and it should be fun. It should be pretty silly. And man, I think I talked about quite a few recommendations this time, huh? Still getting used to not having tons of hair. It does really interest. I mean, if I always just kind of do like one of those, and now when I do that happens. Anyway, recommendations this week. Been listening to a lot of classical music. And a lot of the Doobie Brothers. It's so funny. Yeah, you know, I've been actually. Here's one. I'm pretty sure there's Spotify and Apple Music have yacht rock playlists. Maybe that's why I'm dressed like a early 90s bad guy. I'll have to send a photo to my good friend Brad Bowers. Bad guy. Yeah, yacht rock. Check out some yacht rock. Dad vibes. You know, the closer we get to Father's Day, you got to be prepared for those. In case you know, Toto comes on, or Steely Dan, Michael McDonald, some Doobie Brothers. And I think, you know, actually, here, let's do this. I don't think I've talked about this movie yet. I know it's on HBO Max, or you can rent it or whatever. The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Watch that, and then next week I'll make a note, and then we'll talk about that, because I had never seen it. A lot of my favorite directors talked about it, and it completely blew my mind. The movie ended, and my jaw was on the floor, and I couldn't believe it. Amazing movie. And if you're not into the older movies, bear with me. This will be, you know, Titanic's film school kind of situation, and then we can kind of talk about that, because I think there's some incredible messaging in that movie. And it's also a book, so that can be your. I haven't read it though. I can't. Unfortunately, I cannot recommend the book. But I would imagine it's good if it turned into one of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life. Anyway, happy Monday. Happy Memorial Day. And hopefully you're able to have a barbecue, spend some time with friends, maybe throw a football around or a baseball, and keep the positive energy high and the vibes right up there. And we will see you Wednesday with our next special video, and channel members, we'll see you Friday. Remember, as always, if you'd like to become a channel member, every Friday, 1 extra hour of videos just like this. And we are growing, baby. And gotta say, channel members in the comments, if you've made it this far into this episode, I feel like last Friday's video is one of the best ones yet. We're really kind of getting into some interesting stuff. And what'd you think about it? And we'll see y'all on Friday. Hit the join button if you want to become a channel member. It is a rock and roll party. And I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I mean that. I appreciate it. And peace and love. God bless you all.